Hey everyone, welcome to Dot.Dev Studio. My name is Mark Perini. I'm the founder of ICEE Social. I founded the company back in 2008, back with the recession. And we've been building and managing hundreds of Shopify stores like Toys R Us and Vera Wang. And we're obsessed with retail. Retail's our huge focus, and it's been our focus since 2013. So today we're going to be talking about POS and the roadmap for POS. For us, this is my Monday morning. You know, we are trying to find signal from Shopify on what to build and where to build it. So I'm excited right now to have our guest who ran customer analytics at Uniqlo, worked at the CEO's transformation office at Walmart, and has been building product at Shopify since 2017. And today runs POS as the director of product. And fun fact, also sells dill pickle flavored peanut butter. Welcome, Helen Mou.
Thank you so much. You really found out everything about me.
Claude had some help. I was helped by Claude for sure. So I think like as we're starting this, I'd love to focus in on your company, Peanut Butter Company. I'd also like to focus in on that dill-flavored peanut butter. I just want to know more of like this maximalist peanut butter company and how you're using POS in your own company.
That's right. So the backstory on Backyard Peanut Butter is that I co-created it with my husband a couple years ago, and we call it maximalist peanut butter because we just want it to be different. Yep. We really made it as a creative outlet, and we thought, why does everyone have boring peanut butter in their pantry?
I love this.
But I think it was really like, it really resonates in today's age because, you know, there are a lot of things that are pretty minimalist these days, and they tend to get a little boring.
Yeah.
So with the dill pickle peanut butter, or for example, like Mexican hot chocolate, we just want to like surprise people a little bit and
surprise
say like,
and delight.
Yes. And it's not like we expect everybody to like everything in the portfolio,
Sure.
but if one thing out of the 10 flavors can really delight someone or unexpectedly like be their thing, like my thing is everything bagel, you know, then it's just that extra level of, you know, they might not get that from the average. And I think that's kind of like what we're seeing a lot in the market these days. It's not just like luxury grocery, you know, it's like people want to have something that's a little bit more speaking to them personally, and they want it to be something that isn't just like expected. That's what I really see in retail as well.
Yep. And I think like weaving that together, I feel like what people are buying is story, right? Like the best retail experiences have story attached.
That's right.
You come into a store, and I bring up, I went to a Bonobos recently.
Yeah.
And you know, you go into the store and they may not have racks and racks and racks, but you can get any size, try any fit, right? And then they ship it to you in 2 days. It's like that model of like changing the retail perspective, changing the retail experience. I think that's something that like we're hyper-focused on, and I feel like Shopify is hyper-focused on also.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you hear that from the brands that you work with as well, that you know, maybe they want to be a showroom, or maybe they like, for example, we were talking about peanut butter earlier. Like I do use the Shopify point of sale in my like IRL events, and what you realize is like, yes, there's going to be a line piling up, whether it's Saturday morning or a festival or whatever. But you can't take your eyes off the ball, and the job to be done is not just the transaction; it's the experience in the physical space. And so, like with Bonobos, for example, like, how many different types of shirts do they have, different pants and sizes? They have to be a showroom, kind of, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, again, like you go to a place like Buck Mason, for example, and we were talking about this, you were talking about this at your talk, you go there and you have a whiskey, and it's a different experience.
It's a feeling.
It's a feeling that you're getting from retail that can't be derived online.
And that's with Bonobos too, right? Like if someone's there helping you, kind of selecting for you. It's like elevated, but then it's not going to break the bank as much as a typical luxury place, which would of course provide that experience. And so that's kind of what we're really all about here. I'm also obsessed with retail, and all the partners that I talk to at Dot.Dev, I think they just really want to get into that level of partnership with the merchant or the brand where they're helping them like co-create their point of view in physical form.
I love this. I love this. So at ICEE Social, one of the tenets of the company is weaving the brand's DNA into the website. And I feel like it's a very similar thing for retail.
Yeah.
Like, can you weave the brand's DNA into the retail
Do you ever
space?
go visit their retail
Oh,
store,
yeah,
even
all
if
the
you're
time.
just, yeah,
All the
what do you
time.
do when you're there?
Yeah. So I've talked about this before. When I first started, I was going door to door on the Upper East Side and trying to get people online for the first time. And what I learned by doing that is like everyone in retail has issues. You go into a store, and I do this now. Sometimes on a Saturday, I walk around Brooklyn, go into a store that's not on Shopify POS, and just be like, "Hey, are there any issues that you're seeing?"
Saturday morning, their busiest time.
Yeah. Well, but are there any issues that you're seeing right now, like that your POS isn't delivering on, right?
Yeah.
And it's like more often than not, it's inventory and keeping inventory in sync between
Yes.
the online store and the POS. And having those conversations have turned into clients that we've worked with for decades.
I mean, you're being genuine, right?
Totally.
You're like, what is the problem that you need help with?
Totally.
And they're going to say what's on the tip of their tongue because they're right in the moment.
I agree.
And there's so much about retail that's like, there's the selling part of it, but there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. It's like a fancy restaurant. You don't want to see all the sausage getting made necessarily, but it's happening, and it can be really painful for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And speaking of that, I think like can we focus in just on like Shopify's point of view of like, hey, natively we want to solve 80% of the problems that merchants are having, or the 80% of things that we think are important for merchants. The other 20% you want like either the merchant to customize or the partners to customize. How do you decide like what's going to be native and what you're going to like have for the partners to build or for the merchants to build?
I love how this 80% thing has really taken hold. Something we also say is we say build the advanced layer first. So even if you see only 80% of the use cases satisfied natively, I think folks in this room, you've been a partner for so long, you can feel really confident that the foundations are there. Yeah. So even if we've only enabled, some of the use cases, I think what we've been trying to do, especially with point of sale specifically, because as you mentioned, every store you walk into is like a little bit different, right? I mean, there's some things that are similar, but they all feel like they are special in their own way, whether it's selling or their operations. So that's why we've allowed more extensions in point of sale so that folks can make custom workflows with POS UI extensions. Shopify also has functions. I'm sure you've worked with functions before with online store, with checkout, discount functions, validation functions. We're bringing all of that to Shopify point of sale as well so that merchants can have more control over that selling experience, whether they want to do like bundles or gift with purchase, things like that. Those are kind of the things that they tend to kind of want to create their own special sauce around.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. Yeah, and just like to take the anti-roadmap stance on this, what do you think is something that partners who like have come to this event to look for signal, to look for what to build, what do you think they should not build? Like, what do you think is like solved in POS, or like that you're planning on solving, that you're like, don't waste a year building this because we're building it? Is there anything, any roadmap specific things that you're like, hey, we're thinking a lot about this, or even the position of like, what should they be building because we're not going to touch it?
Well, I can tell you what we're really, really focused on. Number one is speed and performance. I talked about that a lot in my talk yesterday, but essentially keeping really focused on the core selling workflows, not just for the sake of, oh, you must get through this faster, but so that you can really focus on the experience you're delivering to the customer. The other piece is mobile selling. That really enables merchants or staff to get out from behind the counter and go speak with people who are on the floor and just create that better experience instead of being stuck there in the corner.
So clienteling.
So clienteling, but there's so many ways to do clienteling, and I think that's again similar to like bundles and gifts with purchase. Clienteling tends to be one of those things that I think brands want to add their own touch to, right? Yes. No one really does it the exact same way, totally. And so we think about the foundations of clienteling more than necessarily the exact workflows that a staff is going to use. So making sure we have the right permissions for customer profiles, just in case there's different types of staff you have with different levels of trust within the retail store. We just introduced some more permissions lately on the customer profile for the contact information in POS, just in case that tends to be like a generally kind of sensitive piece of information. But in terms of clienteling, there's much more to it than just like, oh, what's in the customer profile? Are they a man or a woman? Did they buy this for their sister? I think like we've been building a lot more growth, and clienteling is all about growth, right? It's all about how do I make sure that when somebody walks out of the store, my relationship is not gone. Like I can still continue the conversation. And so that's why we've been building more customer identification into point of sale. So we really look at that transaction, that card swipe, and say, hey, we have this shop network of hundreds of millions of shoppers.
Does this match anybody in that network?
Yes, can we find you there and make your life easier by making that receipt just a one-tap send, making sure you have all of your order history in one place. And I think folks really want to just like have that understanding of who's in the store, and they already do that like as an art, right? Like of course they're like, are you buying a suit for this something coming up? But just to have that at their disposal is really important, and then to just keep it all in the same system so there's no clipboards and stuff.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because so we do a lot of migrations, obviously, from legacy POS systems into Shopify POS. And one of the most important things is the order history, because that connects to the customer history, right?
Yes.
So you're in the store, and you had spoken yesterday, I'm not giving anything away, you had spoken yesterday that you're working on abandoned carts, like online abandoned carts, surfacing that up in the POS, in a customer profile. And to me, the most interesting thing is if I go into a Buck Mason, they're like, hey, we saw you bought like this shirt. We have pants, we have a jacket that would be awesome on you. Let me get your size. Because they already have that information, as opposed to coming into the store and then being like, hey, check it out.
What do you want? Tell me all about you.
As opposed to like already having that information. And all of a sudden it goes from like this random meeting with a stranger to this like guided experience where like they have an idea of your vibe, they have an idea of what you like, they even have an idea of like what you're willing to purchase, right, based on this history. And I think all of that together is super powerful. That's like a powerful thing to have as a seller.
Exactly, and it's something that's been true for online kind of in the forever grand scheme of things. And we kind of take it for granted that you can see the full funnel of online. You can see every single conversion step. But I think a lot of people think of retail as kind of a black box. And when you ask, like, what can partners do, what can merchants do that goes a little bit deeper than just like, oh, what is the history of data or history of information or history of interactions? I think that I've seen a lot of creative ways to really juice up customer profiles by kind of analyzing the history. Let's say it's a footwear and it's like they've consistently purchased like size 7.5, and then suddenly they're purchasing, size 10 or size 5. You wonder, like, maybe there's a relationship there, maybe there's a gift. And just trying to build and infer from that history what that customer might kind of be like behind the scenes. And since we haven't always been working with this level of data in retail, I think that's a little bit newer, and it's very empowering for retail staff to have this.
Yeah, that's so interesting to me, because like even you talking about this, like I'm thinking like, could you take the abandoned carts that they have in their customer profile and then like serve up based on AI, based on like all this data that you have on this customer, like serve up like, here's what we think from our new collection they would love. Right?
Exactly. And sometimes there's some special magic in there where the brand is like, hey, I have this hero item coming out that that all the algorithms would never even know about, right? And so bringing that to the point of sale surface is really helpful for retail store staff because they're not reading from an instruction manual every day.
No.
They just want the information or nudges like when they're actually interacting with the customer.
Totally.
I think something that partners also don't realize is actually like how many workflows in point of sale they can tap into. So something I'm starting to see, but I didn't think was like that well known until now, is the different extension targets across point of sale. So you know how in checkout you can extend into the checkout different blocks and actions. We have that too in point of sale, and everybody knows about the tile target on the home screen. That's kind of like the
Smart
base
tiles.
place to go.
Sure.
And it makes sense, but there's also more in-context workflows. So within a customer profile, you can add a block extension with different UI elements, let's say, or you can add an action target for like a loyalty points, for example. Order details, product details, and just being in context with the staff is really helpful because they're really in the moment.
Yep, and I think that's something that's super interesting because we're talking about mobile selling, right? And being able to have that on a mobile device, on an iPad, on one of the Verifone devices, and having that as like, you don't actually need to come to the till. Like I think Apple was one of the first to kind of like, oh, there is no till. Like you have the Apple experience and we're keeping it here.
Isn't it amazing when you go in a store and you're like, where do I have to do work to go somewhere to check out? And they're like, actually, I can just help you right here.
Feels like magic.
It does. And I think staff feel much more confident too because they're not like traffic control directing you to the back of the house, right? I think mobile selling is so important. We've had tap to pay on iPhone and Android for a while now, and just introducing like a custom handheld device with scanning and payment all integrated together is just going to be so powerful. I can't tell you how many people ask me about mobile selling.
I'm sure.
Because they just want to really unleash themselves, unleash their staff from being back behind the counter.
Totally. And we did an implementation with a jewelry store, and they have like different rooms that are like have different, like the engagement room, like for engagement rings, and like a room for super pricey stuff. And they were saying they would have to have a till in each of the rooms separately because like the whole transaction happens there, right? And so like if you have a till and like it has to be on an NCR machine in the front of the counter, it breaks the retail experience, right? So the mobile selling is one of those things where it's like, hey, this is a perfect opportunity to keep them in the moment, keep the VIP nature of this happening.
That's right. There's a lot of these high-touch interactions in retail, too. I mean, these are products that can cost $100 or $1,000 or more, and so sometimes you really see multiple store associates working together. Like in that engagement ring scenario, I think it would be kind of hard for one person to like handle this, high-touch engagement. All by themselves. And so I think I mentioned yesterday as well, we're launching cart sharing. So if there's 3 mobile devices or 2 countertop and 3 mobile devices, all of them can see all of the work in progress carts that are happening in that location. So if you started something and you had them help make their choice and you wanted to hand it over to me to complete the transaction or just get their name and engraving or whatever, I could just pick that up seamlessly on my own device and not have to be like, oh, hey, what was that? Or can you hand me your
Yeah, because you also want to keep it professional, right? And you want to keep the vibe going, right? And I think that's what Shopify and Shopify POS allows for is the unification of the customer, because what we see a lot is when we're bringing people over, they have all this data in their POS, and then they have all this data on the website. And maybe there's a sync, but maybe there's not. So you see these associates like getting on the computer to see if there's a customer.
It's so terrible when you see the laptop back there.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just a bad experience for the associate. It's a bad experience for the customer. And it's like, I do want you to know what I've purchased in the past. I do want you to know that I'm a loyal customer. Like, and I think like everyone wants a little bit of a level of like extra treatment.
They want to feel great. They want to feel like a VIP, even if they're not.
Totally. I agree. No, I totally agree. And is there, like, speaking of that, like, is there one problem in retail that, like, you guys are like, hey, this is not solved. This is something that's keeping me up at night. Not necessarily with Shopify POS, but just retail in general, that you're, like, dead set on, like, this is the thing that we want to fix?
I don't know if it's a fix, but just like a redefinition of the role of the retail store. I think people are, it's just easy to replicate like a transaction machine in a store, like just copy everything you have and just put the catalog in the store, put it on the shelf. But I think like really bringing those elevated experiences, like the ones that you're describing, it takes a lot of technology to be a little bit behind the scenes, but make sure that the store associate is showing up really well. And part of that is just customer identification. When I was at Uniqlo before Shopify, we had this whole initiative to capture customer information. You said I was like the head of customer analytics, right? Well, how did we get those email addresses?
There were
clipboards and pens. It was very, very horrible and cringy. And you know, those experiences still persist today. It might not be with a clipboard, but it is no fun to say at Gmail, spell out your name. So I think like if we can rid the retail store of that experience and just help people feel confident that they can focus on the interaction, but also get the customer information in a seamless way, it just is the foundation for so much of a better experience.
I agree. And like to add to that, I was buying something for my wife at like a luxury store, and they were dead set on getting my email, and I'm just like, this has taken me out of the luxury experience completely.
I was feeling VIP elevated, and now you are.
Yeah, now you're badgering me for a sign-up form.
They're like, can you check this box?
Totally.
Oh my
God.
God.
Well, and I just think like. That again, we're talking about retail experience, right? Retail experience is what we're driving, and in keeping with that, I think that the like, I guess like my final question is really like 5 years out, thinking about retail experience. What do you think the like best case scenario for retail experience is? Like describe like kind of what you see that like, is it you go in and you're playing a game and that. From the stats of that game, you're given like a bundle. Like, what is like in your mind the premium retail experience look like in 5 years?
I mean, I think a different experience will resonate with different people. But like, if you think of the best experiences you've been to, whether it's a Taylor Swift concert and everything's so thoughtfully laid out for you, or a Michelin-starred restaurant where you know that so much care has gone into everything that they're delivering to you. At the same time, there's so much behind the scenes that's going on to make that possible. I mean, there's quite a bit of logistics, right? In a retail store. And so to really enable that to work all seamlessly and to make sure that Shopify is fully supporting retail stores and delivering their brand experience, I think there's just a lot of jobs to be done in this physical space, right? There is delivering the selling consultation and the transaction, of course. But there's also, inventory jobs to be done, fulfilling a pickup order, and just different steps to how to deliver that. And so I know it's a little bit behind the scenes, but I think Shopify has done so much to build out the foundations and the primitives of these different jobs to be done in a store. And I think we all just have to kind of realize that the store associate, their job is not just to ring up checkouts. They have things to do when they're not with customers, right? And all of that is part of making the experience great when someone walks in the door. Somebody has to set the table, right?
Totally. Well, and I think it's also if you're giving, I've always said this about Shopify, and this is more on the online side, but I think it's also true of the retail, is like, you're giving enterprise tools or enterprise tooling to a mid to large cap business in a way that they've never had access to before.
Exactly, and I think of that for the customer experience as well. Like, we can't all eat at Michelin-starred restaurants every night, but we can all feel like a VIP even if it's my first time here.
Yeah, and I think that like delivering that VIP experience is something that, again, we're doing a lot in online.
Yes.
And I think that the ability to do that in retail is really the superpower of Shopify POS.
It is. And what's cool is everybody's going to do it in their own way. So I think there's just so much room for creativity, but also courage to do something a little bit different.
Yep.
And you don't just want to make your bread and butter retail store. You want to make it something that is worth getting off the couch for.
I agree. And I think, especially talking about it in contrast to agentic, right? So like in a world where agentic commerce catches on, right? The POS piece is still ultra important because in my mind, the way I envision things, and maybe this is similar, but like I see agentic being for convenience and convenience items. So like I don't need to shop around for, napkins, right, necessarily. But that's something an agent can do. But if I'm going to get a shirt for a special event or a wedding, I want that to be a special experience. I'm not just having an agent buy me
exactly,
that
because
shirt.
you want to tell your friend that you put thought into
Totally.
this, that
Totally.
and you obviously did, because it's a special moment.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I think that, what I'm seeing as signal from Shopify is that agentic is super important, the catalog's super important, and those are things that exist on the online side. But I'm also seeing 33% growth from POS in Q1, and so then I'm seeing the focus for POS be super important.
Yeah, they've agentic and the catalog, and also Shop is really powering discovery. We're actually bringing more foot traffic into retail stores by enabling discovery from those places as well. But again, there is a contrast there.
Totally.
In terms of the jobs to be done, retail is human, and human experiences can be very magical.
Totally. Yeah, I think they're magical, and I also think, because there's a lot of people that are saying, hey, is agentic going to take away from the storefront? Are people not going to come to websites anymore? And I always circle back to POS and going in store. Look what happened post-COVID. It's not that everyone stayed on the web store. They came back in store. They needed that third place to hang out.
There's something to it, right?
There's something to the messiness of retail, of touching, of feeling that is the human condition.
And this has always been true as Shopify too. You've worked with so many merchants and their online stores. They really feel like this is my home on the internet, right?
Yep.
It's my canvas for creativity. And so everything Shopify is bringing to retail stores as well is kind of a similar story. This is your place. This is your home on Main Street. You can make it your own. There's no constraints. You have this place to work in. People are going to discover you for the first time here. That's a big job to be done, right? Customer acquisition, first brand discovery. Make it something special and memorable, and not just, check the box.
Yeah, I agree. And I think from where we've seen it, and there was a slide about one of the streets in Toronto where you have 50 stores. Yeah, we have 50 stores that are using POS. And I think there's also a network effect of you come to a new location, the first thing you're going to do is go to the store next door and be like, hey, how are you guys handling XYZ? Who should we use for internet? Who should we use for X, right? And you're building out this store, and as more and more people are on Shopify POS, and as there's more retail experiences that are better than the typical, department store experience.
What's happening here, right? What's kind of behind the scenes?
Then you're going to get that network effect of hey, I want to be a part of whatever they're doing.
Exactly. It's so funny. We decided to use Toronto because you're all here today, right?
Sure.
But I know you're from New York.
Yes.
So, originally we thought about using Prince Street or Spring Street, or there's probably a place in your neighborhood in Brooklyn, right?
Yep. And we see it all the time. I mean, it's Soho now has been taken over. I mean, fully taken over with Shopify POS. It's one of those things that just changed. And I think that has a lot to do with, like we were saying, giving enterprise tooling to businesses that maybe never had that before.
They never had it before, but now they're all there together, and they are talking to each other for sure. Just like everybody here at Dot.Dev is talking to each other. Like you mentioned, the power of community is so important. That's why we're here today with all the partners, but also you see it on every kind of block, right? Main Street or High Street. They're definitely asking each other for help sometimes. And you mentioned that you're going into stores and talking to them directly.
Yeah.
I think that is just such an important way to go about finding the ground truth.
I agree. And I think we talk about it a lot. As an agency, you're on the grounds seeing a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of signal that we get from the merchants that maybe the software or the platform isn't necessarily getting. So I think having that community and being able to say the feedback of here's what we're seeing on the ground, and then you guys saying here's what we're seeing from the data, macro, micro signal. I think that is super important.
Exactly. I mean, something that I've always loved about working on retail technology is that retail is not just a science. There's not just one way to get through the funnel. There's an art to it. And I think a lot of partners like yourself that are working with the online presence, you're finding some signal, right,
Totally.
in that retail store.
Totally.
Maybe there's certain words that they use instead of, the specs of
Totally.
the product.
Totally.
And so bringing that into different channels and experiences, not just just in retail, that's probably kind of a more of the art of retail. There might be one store associate who's been there or who has found a way to really resonate with people, and they're constantly getting to experiment and see what works. It's all there in the store and so important to bring out.
Yeah, and I think that piece and like the shared knowledge base and having it all in one platform, like that's the piece that's kind of magic, right? And so then you have an associate who has a book of business, and now that book of business isn't just in their iPhone, it's like in the back end of Shopify, right? And
it
like
is surely not just in their iPhone. Exactly.
well, now you have a customer segment, and it's like, Dan's customers, right? And it's a segment that everyone has access to. You're not like stealing from Dan's list, but generally it's something that like now the whole store has access to.
Yes, and it's also a local list. I mean, local is so important because some of the marketing offers that folks want to do post retail visit are maybe exclusive to the store location. So something we've been working on a lot in the platform and in POS is markets. And markets enables retailers to bring exclusive products to 1 or 2 or 3 locations only, or even have discounts be exclusive to a location. So you can imagine how that can drive people to want to get into the store, making that local marketing more and more important. And obviously that's all fed by exactly what you said, which is customer segments.
Amazing. Yeah, and just to like wrap things up, do you feel like, are we continuing, like the path that we're going down in retail, the path that POS is embarking in, do you feel like there's more interest in the last year than there was in the previous 2? Like, do you feel that there's an acceleration of interest? Do you feel like the tech is coming in a way, or we've caught up to the tech in such a way to enable more retail? Like, just give me a closing thought on like the speed.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah. I think you said acceleration in interest. I'm seeing so many folks who are interested in retail. In fact, they're already working with brands. Sometimes it's the brands that are taking them there because I think brands themselves know that they need a place to define themselves, to anchor themselves, to share their point of view in a way they can't always do in every single channel. And so really having that point of view expressed in a physical form is just, I think, the most important thing for these brands and merchants to be successful. And I think we all really want to help them do that.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for your time. And we're looking forward to hearing more.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's so great to be here.
So great.